What is going on? Been a while video once again. Jay's boring video once again. Yet this is not going to be yet another Genesis Coupe SFR video. This is yet another Genesis Coupe engine into the good old 240SX. So this is going to be the chassis I'm going to work with. I want to film the baseline, how it started and everything. Not that it's actually looking any better right now, but this is how it looked. It's pretty nasty inside. It's been sitting outside for quite a while. It's been tossed around by a couple or multiple owners, and it ended up on the marketplace. So I picked it up, and here we go. This is how the engine bay looks. Has some tube frames that's pretty rusted. It does have the right-hand drive conversion, which is pretty cool. I didn't even know till I saw the ad on the marketplace, though it was sitting right in front of my shop the entire time. The interior is looking pretty mint. I mean, aside from all the junks that's in the car, but the roll cage was probably done like 10 plus years ago and looking pretty decent for sure. All TIG welded and nicely done. See if I could use this thing here. Oh, okay, so it works. So surprisingly, the car rolls and steers no problem. Just needed a steering wheel that fits the adapter, and I happen to have one on my Genesis Coupe drift car, so I put it in there, and worked out just fine. And one thing to note is this car is super light. Not that we don't know about this, but just comparing me pushing Genesis Coupe all the time in and out of the parking lot, this thing felt like nothing. So blew some snow here and there and pushed the chassis into the shop and just taking a good look at the engine bay, how rusty they are. And again, this is just a baseline how we started. And as you can see, I have mock-up Genesis Coupe 2.0 engine and transmission all ready to go the day before. So without wasting any time, I put the engine and transmission on the hoist and try to shove it in. You're going to miss some of the timelines here and there, but this is unfortunately how it's going to be in this video, just because it'll be just me filming and doing the work at the same time. Also, I'm just not used to filming like I used to do a couple of years ago. So anyhow, went ahead and put the engine and transmission in. Surprisingly, it fit like a glove. Well, it depends on what gloves we're talking, but just not having to modify a bunch of things like we did for the 3.8 before, this is already a win. It will save me a lot of time for this. And also, keep a closer look at the stabilizer in the front to the oil pan. That's going to be pushed in a little bit further in the later video by modifying the subframe a tad. Also, as you can see, the transmission's pre-lined up to the center of transmission tunnel. And as you can see, the shifter linkage will need to be shortened, which we already knew doing the 3.8 swap before. And you can also see how much of engine room you have with that setup. Genesis Coupe is a huge girl, but at the same time, you don't have much of engine space. So all the intercooler piping, plumbing, radiator, intercooler, everything, you will have so much room in the front. After having the bash bar made or whatever, it makes a total sense. Not that I think this car is all straight and flat, nor the space at the shop, but I'm just trying to level the motor and transmission as much as possible. Usually the allowance is about 2 degrees or less, so I'm just shooting for anything below 0.5.
What's up? F-Boy Genesis Coupe owner here.
X.
I came to Jay to get a wiring harness because I fucking cut mine up way too much and it's totaled. And for the first time in 5 years, Jay let me down. He doesn't have the wiring harness. And I come here and he's putting the world's most unreliable engine into a 240.
Exactly.
You crazy bald man. This bad boy will spin so many rod bearings.
Ha ha ha. Funny, Mason. Yeah, so moving on, I wanted to make the motor mounts and order some plates that's 1/4 inch size. One thing that sucked is that just scoop motor mounts are indented, so it's not flat surface. Wish it was flat, then I could have just made a plate so easily. So now I have to space them out, as you can see. So I made a shape, and we'll be adding spacers and put them all together, braced. That's my plan. But I didn't have the right size bolts at the time, so I'm just using that as a spacer. But that's just how it's going to be for now. And as you can see, I will be bracing all of them for the rigidity, and I'll be welding inside as well. One thing to note is that I'm not TIG welding them just because it's going to take so much time and energy to do this. Not that MIG welding isn't going to be hard, but it's just going to save me a lot of time. So that was the goal with it. Trying to get stuff done as soon as possible for now. Not trying to make it pretty and show ready either. As long as it holds the rigidity and all, I'm all for it. So now the transmission is lined up where I want it by 2x4s and some straps. Now the motor can be tilted left to right how I want it. Initially, I was going definitely against the traditional stock motor mount locations, hence why those plates were made flat, but I ended up crushing the ideas after getting some free motor mounts from Lucas, who works next door, because free is good. So now that those motor mount plates were just done, ready to go, I've decided to go with the transmission mount so that I can line up the transmission first. Then I could easily line up the motor right in the center. Since I don't have any equipment or tools to bend these 1/4 inch steel plates, I've decided to just cut them into pieces and weld them together. They are not straight shape anyway, but diagonal, so they had to be done this way anyway. As you can see, everything's lined up straight. Also, the transmission itself is leveled, very flat and above the subframe. I will be chopping these studs that's supposedly this much thick from the factory. So after taking the bracket off, I went ahead and TIG welded inside and flipped it and grinded off all the welds outside just for cleaner look, nothing crazy. And went ahead and spray with just light coat of flat black. And this is how it looks. Nothing crazy, just simple bracket, clean look. I could have added more braces or whatnot, but I'm just gonna send it for now. And now moving on to the motor mounts. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the same aftermarket motor mounts that I ordered initially and returned. As you can see, there's so much play. I mean, there's adjustability there, top to bottom, but I just didn't like the idea of having the skinnier bolts than the existing hole. There's my ugly face right there. So I've decided to cut the 1/4 inch steel plate about the size of the washer that comes with. Here's a little YouTube magic. And I'm gonna drill a hole and weld the nut with the bolt centered. Then I'm gonna go ahead and weld the whole thing onto the subframe, the position I wanted, preferably all the way down. So that way there's no absolutely room for the bolt to go down more, yet there's no play to the side as well. Yes, I will lose some adjustability here and there. It'll be tricky to line it up perfectly, but I prefer this way. I'm just like that. So it is the next day, Saturday morning. As I planned, I want to make all the mounts by tomorrow. Before I move on, I'm like out of a lot of materials, also argon, so I can't do any aluminum for sure. I could do some tacking for the inside joints, but I'm gonna have to do with the MIG, but I've almost ran out of the wires too. So I'm gonna have to step out, but before I do that, I will have to replace with this subframe anyway. So I'm gonna cut and weld this sealed, clean it up. As it's cooling down, I'll probably go out and buy the wires and come back. So there was a small incident here, but I got this thing just kind of chopped off. I'm gonna just use the grinding wheel to clean this up and start welding. Now I'm just using this to close the gaps. So hopefully do it in one pass and I don't run out of the wires. Alright, we back in business, baby. Woo! This is the marked as driver's side, like you would have as a driver's side on the left, but that's actually a passenger side. So I mean, I'm getting confused myself too, but this is the left side. So I had to grind down some of the welds, not this area, because I ended up putting those spacers and then patched up inside. But I'm only doing this so that I could have a nice flat surface to weld on, and that's it. I don't like to take too much of interiors off, and that defeats the entire purpose of welding it together. Next thing I gotta do is actually drop this frame and transfer with the other one. So I'm super glad that I'm replacing the subframe, because it's not only dirty, bushings are like all rotted and all, and some of the stuff needed some attention. Also, some of the bolts were loose or just seized in general. See, there it is, and dirty and greasy. Whereas this one that Lucas gave me, I trimmed it up and all and clean. So I'm super happy that I'm replacing it with this one. Thank you again, Lucas. So ran into a small issue here, nothing major. So for the rack, so the bolts go in this way and there's an access hole there, but which I just bridged together. So as I was doing that over there, probably people with the 240 were like, oh no, you don't want to do that type of deal. So no big deal. I'll make this hole a little bit bigger here just to have the access to the bolt. Just took a very little material and just fits 3/8 socket. So this is more than enough, and I don't have to take too much out of it. So that's a success. So didn't get to film much as usual, but made some templates with USPS free cardboards. Thank you, USPS. And basically tacked them all together. I just threw some thick tacks on the top and welded all the bottom, so I could finish it off with some TIG welding when I get the gas recharged. And here's the outcome. So I only had to tack, but I got carried away and ended up welding so much that I ended up melting one of the urethane motor mounts. So I had to replace that eventually. But that's not the final form of the motor mount on each side. That is good enough to hold the motor for now, and the 200-pound man on top of it. So I will be bracing them anyway eventually, plus TIG welding them to finish it. So I'm not too worried about it from here. And here's a slow motion messing up my knees, landing, and make it look like it's never happened. And that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys didn't hate the voiceover. But before I let you go, I gotta show you one more thing that maybe some of you are curious about. Will the hood clear the engine? I was curious too, so let's see it. And I'll see you on the next one.